Okay guys, what up? This is Brian Easy coming back today with a tutorial today on how to overclock your CPU in general. So my last tutorial was Ivy Bridge. Today I'm going to explain in general. So in other words, if I picked up an AMD motherboard and processor, or if I picked up a Sandy Bridge and a motherboard, and I picked up a Q9550 and a motherboard, what would I do initially to find those good clock settings that I want to use for stable overclocks? So let's get into it, guys. First you need three programs. You're going to need Core Temp, CPU Z, and Prime 95. These are the three that I use. There are others that you can use, but it's up to you guys, you know. And another thing I want you guys to do is, after you've installed your OS, I want you to, go to My Computer, right click, Properties, go to Hardware, right click on where your OS is installed, click Properties, change Settings, Policies, and make sure Enable Write Caching on the device is turned off. Okay, so if your system crashes, no files are going to become corrupt. So let's do that. Okay, just stress testing. So I'm running an Ivy Bridge here at 4.2 gig, and I'm running it at 1.10 volts. So that's, at the moment, this is my daily overclock, and it's really stable, and I like the temps that I'm getting, so it's really nice overclock. Okay, so these three programs, Core Temp will give you the temps of your CPU, CPU Z will give you the information about your CPU, the volts it's running at, and the speed it's running at, and Prime 95 obviously will just stress test the CPU. So obviously you want to stress test for a couple of hours after you've, to make sure you've got a pretty stable clock. So anyway, let's restart these. Let's restart and go into BIOS. So now, basically, when we get into BIOS, we are going to I'm going to go back to default settings. I'm going to go straight back there, and I am going to basically go back to default settings and show you what I would do. So let's go back, load UEFI defaults. So now everything is back to default settings, okay? So now every motherboard is going to be different, okay? Asus, Asrock, Gigabyte, they're all going to have different layouts for their BIOS, but there's going to be a section where it's CPU configuration, or somewhere along that lines. Hey little bee man. Sorry, my baby's just crying. He's getting excited. He wants to overclock as well when he grows older. Oh yeah guys, and since my last tutorial I put it on a Star Wars Lego watch. It gives me powers, unknown powers that, not even God himself can fathom. So these powers that this Lego Star Wars watch gives me is beyond belief. So anyway, we're at stock settings. This is the stock settings as I'm showing you here. Turbo boost goes up to 3800. Not to worry. Okay, so let's go to auto. We're going to leave that on auto at the moment. We're back. Everything's back to default settings, and what we are going to do is this time we are going to find out on auto how much voltage we are getting. Okay, so let's save that and exit. We're going to find out first off, everything on auto, what voltage are we getting in CPU Z, what temperatures are we getting, and obviously what speeds are we getting. So let's find that out now, okay? So let's start it up. Okay. Everything's back on default. Very easy. We're going to load up Core Temp. And yes, SSDs are awesome. Everything runs a lot faster. Ivy Bridge is really fast too. It's a really responsive CPU. Okay, so let's get that running now. Okay, so we are basically on 1.10 volts at 3.6 gigahertz. So basically, this is my stock voltage. Okay, this is what the manufacturer said. Look, 1.1 volts on stock settings. 1.1 volt is what we're going to make your CPU overclock to. Now obviously, as you saw before, mine was 4200 at the same voltage, so I'm getting 600 megahertz for free. That's because, that's what I've programmed, that's what I've fiddled around with. That's the settings that I've ended up coming at. So we're at 1.1 volt, so what we're going to say is, okay, let's restart this computer now and try and get the lowest voltage at this stock setting, okay? So that'll give us, firstly, that'll give us an idea of how good our CPU is, if we've got a good one or a poor one or an average one. It'll give us an idea of what overclocks we can expect at what volts as well. So first off, leave that on auto. CPU ratio stays on auto. And let's try now CPU voltage fixed mode, okay? So offset mode is for when you've got your settings, you know what voltages you want. You know what voltages you want, and that's, you know, offset mode's for like after you've got sort of your settings figured out. But if you want, you can straight away, you can ignore fixed mode if you want, because you know it's at 1.1 volt, okay? So that's what the stock setting is, right? So we know that. We know level 5 is the auto setting for load line calibration on this motherboard. So if you know what your settings are, load line calibration, like it, basically when you load up a program, it'll have more volts, and then as the program's being used and as the cores are being stressed, it'll lower the voltage. So I use level 5 as well, so we want to use level 5 LLC. I'm going to use fixed mode this time. See, 1.1 volt. That's what it's going to tell you, okay? It's going to tell you in BIOS, it's going to tell you in Windows that this is your stock fixed setting at auto. Now, why don't we try... I'm feeling pretty lucky, so why don't we go low? Like, why don't we go ridiculously low? 0.9, this is freaking low. So we're going to try it, stock settings, 0.9 volts, basically, fixed voltage. So what fixed voltage does, as opposed to offset, fixed voltage will keep it at that voltage at all times. If you change to offset voltage, then you will enable your motherboard to use speed step technology. So that doesn't even work, okay? That's not even booting, okay? That's pretty dangerous, because if you go too low and you can't even boot your motherboard, you're going to have to clear the CMOS, okay? So that's a little bit annoying, but at least we can get into BIOS, so that's kind of cool. Let's try 9.5 now. So like I said in my other tutorial, if you are not even getting into Windows, I recommend going either 0.03 or 0.05 up. I'm going to go 0.05 up because that was just a fast crash. That didn't even go anywhere. So let's try 0.95 this time. See how we go. Now, yeah, so basically what you're doing at the moment is you're finding how, you know, fixed voltage, and of course start Windows normally. Since we took those hard drive options off before, we're not going to corrupt any files. Our Windows will start normally. It should be no problems. Yeah, so sorry, back to where I was before on the overclocking, okay? We're just finding now, we're being patient, we're finding these settings, okay? So let's load up. We're in Windows now, okay, at 0.95 volts. Everything's on stock. We're going to load up this, and it's giving us, see, 3.6 again. Let's get some maximum heat going. Okay, now if this runs for about 10 minutes, I mean, if it runs for about 10 minutes, even a couple of minutes, you know, it kind of means that you are a little bit stable, you're getting close to that voltage. So this is fixed voltage, this is going to stay, since we got load, like I said before, since we got the load line calibration on level 5, it will drop the voltage as the cores are being stressed. So now in CPU-Z we're reading 0.9 volt, as opposed to our fixed voltage which is at 0.95, so this is a good thing. Load line calibration is a good thing. It's actually, I never saw it on my old motherboard, which was a LG A775. I never saw this feature, so I'm glad it's... actually, I might have seen it. It might have been V-drop or something, but yeah, I'm getting this. I like this setting. It's good. So there we go, guys. Fixed voltage. It seems to be pretty good. Temperatures are really low. My temperatures before were like 67 something, so we've gone down another 11 degrees, but obviously we're 600 megahertz slower. Now, that's pretty good. That seems to be pretty good, okay? So what's this saying? What's this saying to us is look, you're 0.2 volts under what the manufacturer was giving you, okay? So in other words, this CPU can run almost 0.2 volts lower at the same speeds as opposed to what the motherboard manufacturer or Intel was saying it could do. Now, that for me is a big difference. Like, that's going to be more power usage. That's going to be more power usage. It's going to juice the life of your CPU more. So the higher your voltage goes, the less life your CPU is going to have. So yeah, if you guys are budget minded and you want to save power, but you don't really need the speeds of going to 4.2 gigs, then you can keep your settings at here. It's pretty good, that's going to save power. Okay. Now what I'm going to say is, well, look, at 0.95 fixed voltage LLC5, we got this 3.6 that was obtained. So now let's try going higher. So we'll try 4 gigahertz this time, okay? Let's try that. So we're going to restart the computer. Now these 3 programs, guys, I've given the links in my description below, so you can get them if you want to. They're pretty easy to get. That's actually a pretty good overclock, guys. I might even use that sometimes, when I'm... that's actually, I found a good overclock for myself there. Oh, well, not a good overclock, a good underclock, sort of. That's what they call it. So there we go. So we're at 0.95 and we're fixed mode, okay? So what we want to do now is we want to find, say for instance, let's try 4 gigahertz because I've never done 4 gigahertz before, okay? I'm going to use all core. I like all core better because if you look at per core, we had 4 core ratio limit. It was 3.6, and that's what my computer was running at when I needed the power. So I like all core better because it's just easier to tune, okay? So let's try for 4 gigahertz this time. So all core CPU ratio. And if you have a different motherboard, it may be called something else. It may be called core activity. I don't know, because I've only used Asrock's and Asus's interface for this. Asus's was kind of like an aeroplane cockpit. It was a little bit weird. It's kind of like, what the hell's going on, when I first saw it. So I love Asrock's BIOS interface. Very easy to use, guys. So let's keep looking now. We're going to go, let's try for 4 gigahertz. Let's just go straight up a little bit of power. Let's maybe go, okay, so we're going another 400 megs over what we had before. Let's try and do 1.01. That's what I'm going to roughly say is okay. 1.01 volts at 4 gigahertz. Now I'm pretty sure this will crash, as it's pretty low. If it doesn't crash, great. I don't know, I still don't, I don't understand Ivy Bridge 100% still. Probably understand about 85%. It's a very, it's a very interesting processor in that, okay, that didn't even work. As the CPU speeds go up and the voltage goes up, it really gets, the diminishing returns really sets in. Let's try that again. So that just didn't even boot. So again, as I was saying about that thing of 0.3 higher, I'm going to go for 0.05 because it's simple. Easy. Done. Brian Easy, that's why my name's Brian Easy, so I do things pretty easy. Let's start that up. So we're just going to boot this time at 4 gigahertz. And we will start Windows normally, there shouldn't be a problem. And let's keep going with this. So, I have tweaked my Windows. If you guys want to tweak your Windows, I have a whole guide there to tweak your Windows and make it faster, make it more responsive. So you see my menus are really fast. Everything's really responsive and it feels more responsive. So everything's really good. So now let's load up Core Temp. We are in Windows now. We are starting fine. Okay, maximum heat. That's what we want, guys. That's frozen. There we go. So we've got to go higher. We just booted up. I will go to 1.08 this time, okay? So this is how you find your overclock, okay? So you're in fixed voltage. We're at 4 gigahertz now. We are going to go up to... it did start that time, so I'm going to try 1.07. See how that goes. And basically, you're just going to keep trying settings until you get what works, and you're going to find out what voltage your CPU likes. So remember, we know that our stock setting is 1.1 volt. Okay? So when we use offset mode, it's going to be 1.1 volt. That's what it's going to use. So now we're going to find out if this overclock is stable now at 1.07 volts. So you're just getting 400 megahertz. This is the thing about Ivy Bridge, you get 400 megahertz. You're just getting 400 megahertz more, but it's taking so much more time. So, okay, CPU had a little bit of a whinge. So let's try stressing this. Okay. Okay, we're in now, guys, and obviously, as you can see, we're at 1 volt at 4 gigahertz. That's after the load line calibration set in. Okay. Now that's a pretty good overclock. I like that as well. That's pretty damn stable. I mean, it's pretty damn solid, what I'm trying to say is, okay, so I'm going to rush things here because it is a video and, you know, I'm going to try and rush things a little bit, but yeah, okay, we're at 1.07 fixed voltage. We seem to be relatively stable, we're not stable because I haven't tested it for hours, but we are getting temperatures about 60 degrees, which is pretty cool. I'm liking these temps. I'm liking this overclock as well. Seems pretty nice. 4 gigahertz, 1 volt. Pretty low, pretty cool. Things are pretty cool. Star Wars Lego watch, yeah. So let's go. So that's done, guys. We've found our fixed voltage theoretically. I mean, if I was doing this like really thoroughly, I would test it for a couple of hours. But you know, I'm just doing this really quickly. So okay, 1 volt. It's working pretty good. Temperatures are fine. That's a good overclock, 4 gigahertz. Okay. So if you get a different CPU, it's going to be different, obviously. So now we're going to go back in. Okay, so we know our fixed voltage is 1.1. So now our fixed voltage is 1.1. So we are -3 over offset. Okay, so offset mode will leave the motherboard. Now we're going to change to offset mode, and that will leave the motherboard settings. Right, what offset mode will do is it will run off the automatic motherboard voltage. So the fixed voltage will run at a fixed voltage all the time. The offset mode is going to say, look, it's 1.1 volt normally. Now we can go, since we found it at 1.17, we're going to go -0.3. So that's what we're telling our motherboard to go. Run 0.03 volts under what our default settings for the motherboard was. Now we're going to leave our load line calibration on level 5. That hasn't changed. 4 gigahertz overclock, that hasn't changed either, okay? Now we've found our fixed voltage sweet spot. So we're going to say offset mode, okay, is 3 volts under the automatic setting of 1.1. And we're going to save that, okay? We're going to save that and we're going to exit, okay? Now, but this is normally, okay, so I'm showing you guys what will normally happen on any motherboard and CPU. What I found on this Extreme 4 motherboard, it might need a BIOS update, but it's a little bit different. It actually puts the fixed voltage at 1.15. So the motherboard says the auto setting is 1.15, which is a little bit weird. I don't know why it says it's 1.1 in BIOS, but in Windows it's saying it's 1.15. That's just the programming when they program the BIOS. That's all they did. They sort of messed up a little bit. But anyway, so basically, not to worry, because since we know that, yeah, it's 1.15, or the automatic voltage for it is 1.13. Okay, so since we know that this is, now we're at -0.03, right? This is, because my BIOS is a little bit weird, I will quickly show you anyway how I figure out, overcoming my BIOS, weirdness that Asrock sort of thinged. It's not a problem because, you just got to do a little bit of maths. You say, well, okay, I'm at 0.03, right? I had it at 1.1. I had it at 1.07 before, and now it's, okay, so it's basically 0.13 volts above what my overclock was before, okay? So it's basically 1.1, see, if we saw it before, we had 1.1 volts. Now it's 1.13, so it's basically 0.13 over what we had before, okay? So that's easy to figure out now, because we can just restart the computer and take it down 0.13 volts, which is a lot. It's a lot, yeah. That's actually a lot. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so we're going into Overclock Tweaker, and we're going to say, okay, well, let's go down to 1.16 since you're a funny motherboard. Okay, we'll try maybe 1.155 because it's being a little bit weird. Now, that's it. Hopefully it should boot. I mean, it might crash, it might need more, but it's mainly because the motherboard, the BIOS in the motherboard's being a little bit weird. So yeah, if you do your maths, you can figure it out yourself. Obviously it's not much of a problem. So it's booting, it seems to be okay so far. Probably might have to give it, because offset mode will, see, fixed mode is more stable than offset mode, guys. So offset mode may need another 0.01 volt compared to fixed mode, because of the fact that it's underclocking and overclocking back and forth with speed step technology. So you got to remember that. Let's load this up. Processors. Okay, and that pretty much concludes this tutorial, guys. So I'm showing you how I've found this overclock, and as we see there, we're getting what we had before, 1.1. By doing a little bit of maths, we've found, it's pretty much where it was before in fixed mode, and we're in offset mode now. Okay, so that's it. That's the guide. That's how you find, step by step, that's how you find your overclock on any motherboard, any CPU, okay, by those steps that I just taught you here. Now, if you like this video, guys, please thumbs up, and if you got any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and of course, please subscribe to keep Brian Easy going, as your subscriptions really help me. So I like to help you guys, and I like to do tutorials and help people whenever I can. So I hope this helped you today, and if you, please leave any comments in the section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, okay? Alright guys, peace out for now. Bye. Brian Easy.